Brett McMurphy with us on 3 Sports. He joins us on 365 Sports. Brett and I traded a text earlier today, and I still can't believe it, Brett. And we had Roger Wallace, who does color analyst work for UT, that in all their history, when they won 3 national titles in like 6 or 7 years, they've never been ranked number 1 in the country in a coaches or preseason AP poll. That still kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, they have not been number 1. They've been number 2. They were number 4 last year in the preseason poll. But yeah, have never been number 1 until this year, which is not necessarily a good thing. 19 of the last 21 preseason number 1 teams did not win the national title. So,
damn.
Congrats, Longhorns. You're playing for second, I guess.
Brett, the AP and the coaches poll obviously always line up a little bit different. Have you ever had any feeling over who's more qualified to do it and who can see more stuff, the writers or the coaches?
So you're asking me if I'm more qualified than the coaches?
I guess that's not a fair question, the way I put it.
No. Is that like 95 miles per hour right over the heart of the plate? I appreciate that. Absolutely, I'm more qualified. Yeah. And the coaches would admit that. And look, it's just not me, but okay, really it is me. But no, I mean, we see more games, and coaches admit that. When you talk to them, they're like, look, what do you think about whatever team it is? If that team is not on their schedule, they literally have no idea about what that team does. They haven't seen them play. Even if it's a team that's further down their schedule, they're like, well, they're still a few weeks away. I really haven't seen much of them or whatever. So, yeah, as far as, kind of judging the strengths or weaknesses of a team, absolutely. The writer's poll is more subjective. I think it's more thorough. And, quite frankly, a lot of coaches probably would admit this, at least privately, maybe not publicly. A lot of them don't fill them out. It's the sports information directors, it's somebody on staff. And really the only ones they really worry about is the last one, because that's the only one that's public. So you see how they voted. And so that one, I think they probably have a lot more hands-on with, because obviously, if Sarkisian votes Oklahoma 25th and they're ranked 5th by everyone else, it's going to raise a lot of hell. So, but during the season, yeah, those coaches I've spent more time answering this question than they do filling out their top 25 bracket already.
Brett, I was curious, do you have a particular method, especially when it comes to that first poll, the preseason poll of how you rank teams?
I really don't. I mean, it's supposed to be, and everybody does it differently, but I look at it, it's supposed to be the teams you perceive as the best teams entering the season. Some people look at it as, well, it's supposed to be predictive. Here's your 25 teams you think you're going to end up the year in this spot. It's hard not to think that way, but I kind of just think of it as going into the season, these are the teams that I see or that I think are the best teams. Obviously, as we play games, that changes a lot. So that's kind of how I do it. For me, my top 7, which were the top 8, top 7 or 8, which pretty much everyone had some variation of Texas, Penn State, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, and Oregon. That's 8 teams. Like, you literally could have told me you have any of those teams picked as your number 1 team. I would have absolutely no problem with that. I think all of those top 8 teams have a lot of warts, a lot of issues, and some maybe bigger than others. That's what we're going to find out. And of that group of 8 teams, you've only got 2 of those 8, which is kind of surprising, that you have a starting quarterback returning. And obviously that's Penn State with Drew Aller and Clemson with Cade Klubnik. So the other 6 highly ranked teams, we know who is probably going to be that starting quarterback, but we don't have a season worth of evidence, if you will, to kind of see how they're going to end up.
Which of these trends, and there's a couple of decades long that you posted today on your timeline, is the one that surprises you the most? That at least one unranked team ends up in the top 10. I think you have 29 of the last 31 years, or that every year for 22 consecutive years, a top 10 team ends up unranked. Which of those two surprises you the most?
Yeah, Smokey, I'd say the team that there's a top 10 team. There's an unranked team to start the year, finishes in the top 10. Because it really doesn't surprise me that we get a lot of teams wrong. When you look at the top 10 teams, there's always a team every year that falls out of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
That really doesn't surprise me because you can have injuries, you can have a number of factors that happen that impacts teams. So I can see how that happens. Now, there's currently 10 active coaches. I'm sure you saw the chart, including Dave Aranda.
Yep.
10 current coaches that have had a preseason top 10 team that finished out of the top 25. However, special mention go to two people. The first is Lane Kiffin, the only coach in the history of college football to have a preseason number one team, USC, in 2012, that finished the year unranked. That's hard to do. And second is you guys, I'm forgetting my Texas geography. I shouldn't be. Jimbo Fisher. He has made college football history, and not kind of how you want to do that. He's the only coach in college football history that has had 3 different teams that ranked in the preseason top 10 and finished the year unranked. He did that at Florida State in 2017, and he did it at Texas A&M in 2021 and 2022. So hang the banner, Jimbo. That's a tough one to beat. And real quickly, tomorrow at On 3, I compiled the 5 most underrated and overrated teams in the college football playoff era. So for the last 11 years, and this is based simply on where teams were ranked at the start of the year and where they finished the season, whether they were ranked or not. I'll give you a little teaser here. There's 83 teams that have received votes in either the preseason or final poll of the current 136 teams. Baylor is neither 25 most overrated or 25 most underrated. So they're in that middle gap, which is not bad. They've basically done what they've expected to do each year. But again, partly because of Jimbo, special recognition to Texas A&M. The past 4 years, Texas A&M is the only school in the country that has started the season in the preseason top 25 and finished the season unranked. They're ranked, I think, 19th this year. So can they run it back again from ranked to unranked? We'll have to find out.
Man, Jimbo Fisher, that 2013 team really was something special to kind of buoy what people thought of him. This is kind of a random question, not about the rankings, but I'm curious as someone who talks to a lot of coaches, covers the landscape as well as you do. Jon Gruden went and spoke to Georgia this week, and it got viral. It made the rounds, and he really wants to get back into coaching. He wants to coach in the SEC. One, I don't know why he'd want to do that because his gig right now is way easier and simpler. I know he misses coaching, but do you think he would be a good college coach at this point in his life and career?
So the first part of that, when I was at ESPN, literally every former coach that I worked with at ESPN, I don't care who it was, they all wanted to get back into coaching. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them. It is in their DNA, and that's what they want to do. So you can say, oh, he's got an easier job, he's making more money. They don't care. They're a coach, and that is what they want to do. Would Gruden be a good coach? I can't predict when loss that would end up, but I do know this. I think now, and we've seen it firsthand with Dion at Colorado. We're seeing it this year with Bill Belichick at North Carolina. There is something to that celeb coach that makes your program relevant overnight. And with the NIL paying the players and all these different things, the different media there is available now, that's a huge deal. So yeah, I think Gruden would be successful because he's certainly going to hire the right people. I mean, there's a number of coaches, I'm sure, at the NFL and the college ranks that would work with Jon. Look, I'm in Tampa. He's based in Tampa. He lives in Tampa. I'm sure there's a lot of schools after this year that would probably give him that opportunity. And again, kind of with Belichick, what this boils down to is not will he have the opportunity. The question is there going to be an opportunity that he would take? I don't think he's necessarily going to go, I'm going to take any job out there because that's how bad I want to coach. I think he's smart enough where he would take a job where he feels like he could succeed or one that really fits his lifestyle, his personality, etc. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, it only got 136 programs. It only takes one to reach out. But I think it'd be great for the game if Gruden, did that. It's just he'd have to return all that free gear he got from all these different schools of where he's not coaching.
That's a pretty good bit that he started with the boxes, walking into the boxes and unloading.
Damn,
them.
I wish I would have thought of that.
Yeah,
Jeez.
no, I would. Man, we would absolutely be thrilled with all that. There's also a note you have, and again, Brett McMurphy, it's at Brett_McMurphy on Twitter, on3.com, with so many nuggets and historical trends, etc. So, in the last 19 of 21 years, every national champion ranked among the AP's preseason top 7 wins it. You have a note about number 1 Texas and why you think they probably won't. Who is among the top 7 that, or is there somebody outside the top 7, that you feel like has a pretty good shot that they could win the national title? Knowing the trend is that it hasn't happened but twice in 21 years.
Yeah, David, I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe Alabama because they're number 8, but I don't think. I mean, LSU and Miami is 9 and 10. I'm not sold on LSU. Miami last year had a generational offense, and they still couldn't win the ACC. I think actually Miami will be a better overall team this year. Their offense obviously will not match up anywhere near to what it was last year, and that's not a slide on Carson Beck. It's just how good Cam Ward was. But the defense will be vastly improved. I mean, it can't be any worse. But I don't see anyone out of the top 7, with the exception of Alabama. They were at number 8. That really could win it. It just there's too many bodies to climb over, if you will. And like we talked about earlier, there's always a top 10 team that falls out of the rankings. But usually that top 6, 7, 8 teams, these are teams we know a lot about. They've got a lot of solid pieces returning, solid coaches. I know if you're asking for a team, I'll say Alabama. It's kind of a cop out there at number 8.
Yeah.
But if you told me right now I could take the top 7 versus the field for the national title, I would definitely bet on the top 7.
Arizona State 11. Obviously, last year they're one of those. They unranked and they ended up 7th, and they gave Texas hell in the playoff game. Your thoughts about them? No surprise they're the top-ranked Big 12 team as far as the highest ranked in the preseason poll?
Yeah, I don't think so. Obviously look, we're humans who fill this out. They return a lot, and I think, they're getting a lot of credit for what they did last year. And I'm not saying they shouldn't, but, a lot of times that's what, those folks, including myself, look at is, okay, what did they do last year? Okay, wow, they've got a boatload back from that team. So in theory, they should repeat that success. We'll have to find out. But yeah, I still think the Big 12, the most competitive conference. I think I've told you guys I'm picking Utah to win it.
Mm-hmm.
I had Utah in my top 25. They were right outside the top 25, including BYU. But I mean, I could see any of a handful of teams winning it. Look, I have no issue with Arizona State being the top Big 12 team, but I'm also not going to be surprised if they don't win it. That's not a slight against Kenny Dillingham. That's just how competitive the Big 12 is. And I think Baylor's in a small group of teams, I think, that can win it too. It's just the margin of error is so close with all these teams that, last year is a perfect example. Arizona State, BYU. I came on here and said, well, I can't tell you who can win this thing, but I know who's not going to win it. And I said Arizona State and BYU, and Arizona State won it. BYU probably should have been in the title game.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it, so fascinating to follow the Big 12.
Brett, are you surprised that Notre Dame and Ohio State in particular are still in quarterback battles this late into it?
No, not really, because, from talking to a lot of coaches, while they perceive from the outside that, this guy's going to be the guy or that guy's going to be the guy, until they're 1,000% sure, you don't want to come out and say that. Because once you do come out and say that, and obviously they're going to tell the team, and the team sees what's going on. It doesn't surprise me that they don't come out and say, well, here's our starting guy. And also, I think a lot of times these coaches, they purposely don't release who the starter is, because nowadays the backup may say, well, screw this, I'm out of here. I'm going to transfer. I don't think that's the case at Notre Dame or Ohio State. And it also may be motivational. If you've got your supposed number one guy and he's getting pushed by the number two, well, the thing you want to do is, here's the starter, and then you give number one, not that he doesn't have incentive, but now there's no longer that push that he's being pushed, because he's like, okay, I've got the number one job. I can sit back and relax. So I think part of it is kind of their not mind games with their teams, but I think it's just the more they can stay locked in, competitive with these guys and put these different guys in different situations. And then there's some coaches that typically aren't going to tell us who the starters are until right before kickoff. I don't know if there was a hilarious clip from Rich Rodriguez. I love Rich Rod. He was asked about the starting quarterback, and he's not, now, why would I tell you guys that? I don't want my opponent to know. And then he said, you know what? We're still trying to sell season tickets. You know what? You buy season tickets, I will email you our starting quarterback an hour before kickoff, so you'll know an hour before everyone else will if you buy some season tickets. So then you have the Rich Rod method.
Yeah. Last question, and this is another one of your nuggets. Vanderbilt remains the only power conference team that has never been ranked in a preseason AP top 25 poll. We know that they've had some atrocious history as far as teams, but this is the thing that surprised me. It's not that they weren't ranked, but then I went to the others receiving votes, and I expected to see Vanderbilt with a handful of votes. Are you surprised they didn't get any kind of a little bump because of Diego Pavia?
No, because apparently the three people that voted Vanderbilt to win the SEC at SEC Media Days do not have an AP vote. So I'm not one of them. But no, I mean, I did. And look, if you could vote for the top 40, then probably Vanderbilt gets some votes. But
Sure.
If you're limiting it to the top 25, I mean, heck, they already have 10 teams in there. Probably others receiving votes from the SEC. So now, I'm not surprised. If it was a top 40 poll but we only ranked 25 and then did the others receiving votes, then yeah, I would see Vanderbilt out there. But look, Diego hasn't been shy. He told me at SEC Media Days. I saw he's done some other interviews and said the same thing. Their goal is to win a national championship. So more power to the Commodores. But yeah, they have been ranked at the end of the year. They are the only power school of all 68 that has not received, has not been ranked in the preseason top 25. Rutgers was the other one that I thought may not have been ranked in the preseason top 25, but they made it. I think it was about 10 or 15 years ago. they got in there for one of the preseason rankings.
Probably the Greg Schiano era one, maybe with Rutgers. Hey, Brett, as always, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time. Always enjoy the nuggets, the historical perspective, the trends, and more. We appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the week.
Okay. Tomorrow, check out the most overrated, underrated. I'm sure no one will have a problem with that.
No. Brett McMurphy on 3 tomorrow. Again, an article about those programs who have been the most underrated based on poll history and then overrated based on poll history. Not sure who, but he's obviously leaning towards A&M being a